So, here's Caitlin penetrating deep in the paint, knowing that CC could score that bucket. Team Brazil sends an extra body to stop her, though she could have just easily taken that shot. This ain't the Caitlin Clark show anymore like last season, cause now the Wonder Woman has the freaking Justice League backing her up. And so here's what she did.
Clark bodying inside, wraps a pass. Good movement here. Cunningham connects.
I don't know y'all, but that ball movement was like a moving Picasso painting to me, cause that was just too pretty. I mean, that play right there shows the dramatic improvement of the Fever's offense, and together with the new pieces and faces that they've added this offseason, this Indiana Fever 2.0 is about to blow some serious dough on the court with killer plays like that, and it's all thanks to Stephanie White's newly installed motion offense.
So I also want our players to use their instincts and to play free. We want to make plays, not run plays, right? We want to have sets that give us certain spacing that we want depending upon our rotations, who's on the floor, who we want to attack, what matchups we want to get to, how can we manipulate them. So we'll have certain play calls that just give us space to operate. And then whichever play we make, whichever pass we make determines, one of three actions that our players can read from.
See, last year, under Christie Sides, the Fever's offense was too predictable and disorganized, as everything just hinges on the playmaking ability of both Kelsey and CC. I mean, look at this sequence. CC is doing her thing here, while the rest of the gals are just ball watching. Then when nothing happens, CC throws a grenade to Fag Benlay, who then fumbles the rock, leading to a wasted possession. But as I said before, gone are those days, cause with Coach White in charge, the Fever now moves the goods faster than the assembly line at Amazon. I mean, here's a perfect example against the Mystics. So here's a little zoom action with DB setting a pin down to Lexi, then turns into a dribble handoff at the top. Now, while that action is happening on the strong side, Kelsey fields in the corner after making the initial pass, and out of nowhere, Sophie cuts inside, which is then rewarded by Lexi with a tight bounce pass to complete the blind-to-blind connection.
This will too.
Nice
Backdoor.
As you can see on that play, nobody was standing around as all 5 players were in constant motion. And speaking of which, here's another play that shows the fluidity of their new offense. See, here's Lexi driving from the opposite corner. She passes the ball to AB on top, who then looks to set up Jaylen Brown for the DHO. However, that turns out to be just a decoy, cause like a thief in the night, Sophie goes backdoor once again and scores the rock from the baseline.
Austin looking backdoor and got it to Cunningham. Found a crevice.
I mean, even without CC in that game, the Fever had no problem putting up points on the board, with Sophie taking over the scoring reins and finishing with 21 points, averaging just 8.4 points last season. Who would have thought that a traditional 3-and-D player like Sophie would explode like that in the first game of the season? And again, this all boils down to the new system placed by Coach White. And speaking of 3-and-D players, we've also seen Lexi Hull thrive in the motion offense, and this was quite evident in their last preseason game versus the Atlanta Dream. Look at this play. Coming from the corner, Hull engages in a dribble handoff from Brown, and upon seeing the lane wide open, Lexi drives, then sets up shop before getting the midi bucket to drop. And then, in a similar action moments later, Lexi turns the corner after grabbing the DHO from Turner, but instead of pulling up from 15, Hull downhills all the way to the cup and finishes with an and-one layup.
Lexi Hall getting downhill, finds the bucket and 1.
Lexi led the Fever in scoring by cooking 14 points, 11 of which were scored in the fourth quarter alone, while the big guns like CC and Kelsey were sitting out. I mean, the point that I'm trying to get across here is that this new Fever offense is looking extremely lethal, cause now the not so heavy scorers and typical spot-up shooters like Sophie and Lexi could go nuclear on any given night. And this is definitely going to be a major area of concern for the opposing team's defense, as they'll have to add more names in the scouting report instead of just focusing their defensive efforts on the usual suspects like Kelsey, Mitchell, and Caitlin.
Here's Clark. Wow! You bet!
And see, Apart from the bodacious blonde bombers, the Fever's new big-time acquisitions like DeWanna Bonner and Natasha Howard also had their moments offensively during the preseason, and this only goes to show that from top to bottom, everyone can become a scoring threat down to the last player on the bench.
Most good teams have that 8 probably player rotation. Like, we have 8 players who could start in this league. We've got a 9-10 player rotation that we can use on any given day right now. And so I think the quality of depth and the talent across the league is better than it's ever been.
I mean, here's CC in a 2-man game with AB. Now, instead of hitting their usual bread and butter pick and roll attack, AB sprays it out to DB on the short roll, who then splashes the wide open 3.
Clark dumps it to Boston. Bonner will fire away and knock it down.
And in this sequence right here, Caitlin plays hot potato with Turner. Now, she could have just simply lobbed it to Timpson underneath. However, she opts to move the ball around as she makes the extra pass to Lexi for the corner triple.
Finds Turner, Brianna Turner over to Hull. She got it. Another.
We have already seen some crisp ball movement and constant people movement with great spacing in the last 3 games, and it looks like the new pieces they have right now are buying into the system as they execute each play with such efficiency and fluidity.
What's the emphasis of these 4 days of preparation to get ready for Saturday?
Yeah, I mean, part of it's execution, working to really start to understand our reads, understand who you're on the floor with and how to get them the ball in positions to be successful, continuing to build on our defensive coverages and execution points, and really, fine-tuning as we add.
See, from being just a 2-woman show from last season, this retooled Indiana Fever squad can now get points from any player coming from every possible angle, aside from just riding on CC and Kelsey throughout the rest of the game until their wheels eventually fall off. And with this being said, there's no question that this version of the Fever is looking way more deadly compared to last season, because now CC finally has some serious backup to help her out offensively, and if they continue the momentum they're having right now into the season, I believe that they have a strong case to go all the way to the promised land and win the championship.
Yeah, I think having that balance is going to be really good for us. There's so many different weapons on this team. There's a lot of really great leadership. There's people that have won championships. Then we have our young core, our young players. A lot of people that are really, really hungry to win. And I think that's kind of what we were lacking last year. We got to the playoffs, and not only have we not won championships, we barely had playoff experience. So that was a glaring thing that we had to fix. And
what does success then look like?
a championship. Mm-hmm.